Welcome back to the Stories of Northern Life podcast, brought to you by the Sault Ste. Marie Museum. I'm your host, Nicole, and today, in continuing with the series, Reading History, I will be reading the press release on the unveiling of the plaque to commemorate Canada's first uranium discovery. So, let's get into it. So this is a press release from the Ministry of Colleges and Universities, and it is for the Historical and Museums branch. It was sent out on September 6th, 1973. So, plaque to commemorate Canada's first uranium discovery. On Sunday, September 16th, 1973, at 2:30 p.m., a historical plaque commemorating the first discovery of uranium in Canada will be unveiled at the Alona Bay Scenic Outlook on Highway 17, about 65 miles north of Sault Ste. Marie. This plaque is one of a series being erected throughout the province by the Historical and Museums Branch, Ministry of Colleges and Universities, acting on the advice of the Archaeological and Historic Sites Board of Ontario. Sunday's ceremony is being arranged and sponsored by the Prospectors and Developers Association, whose president, Mr. William Plexman, will act as program chairman. Among those who have been invited to take part are Mr. John Rhodes, MPP for Sault Ste. Marie, who will represent the Honourable Leo Bernier, Ontario's Minister of Natural Resources, Mr. Bernd Gilbertson, MPP for Algoma, and Father Lorenzo Cadzio, SJ, Department of History, Laurentian University, who will represent Ontario's Historic Sites Board. The plaque will be unveiled by Mr. Robert Campbell, immediate past president of the Prospectors and Developers Association and the prospector who rediscovered LeConte's original 1840s uranium find. The inscription on the plaque reads, Canada's first uranium discovery. In 1847, John L. LeConte, physician and distinguished scientist, examined and described a specimen of uranium-bearing ore reportedly taken by B.A. Standard from a vein of the mineral on the north shore of Lake Superior, about 70 miles from Sault Ste. Marie, in 1948. After learning of Standard's find a century before, Robert Campbell sought the ore body with Gagné counter, discovering a uranium-bearing deposit, pitchblende, at Theano Point. This occurrence, situated in the locality mentioned by LeConte, may have been a rediscovery of Standard's find. The rush of prospectors into the general region led to the discovery, east and northeast of Blind River, of the Great Elliott Lake uranium deposits. Historical background. In 1847, the American Journal of Science published an article by John L. LeConte, M.D., entitled On Corisite, a New Ore of Uranium. This account deals mainly with the chemical composition and physical properties of the material which is the subject of the study, but also tells how it came into the author's possession and what he knew of where it had come from. John Lawrence LeConte was born in New York City in 1825 of French Huguenot stock and became an eminent American scientist. Though a physician, LeConte had independent means and never practiced medicine for a livelihood. A strong inclination towards science seems to have been inherent in the LeConte family, and his first cousins, John and Joseph LeConte, also became noted scientists. John L. had a great breadth of scientific interest, publishing papers dealing with his studies in mineralogy, geology, biology, ethnology, in addition to those distinguished contributions to entomology. his special field for which he became recognized at home and abroad as the greatest entomologist America had produced. In his report on quartzite, a new ore of uranium, LeConte states, "This mineral forms part of a collection made by Mr. B. A. Standard on the north shore of Lake Superior. The specimen in my possession is from the surface of the vein. This mineral, as I am informed by Mr. Standard, occurs on the north shore of Lake Superior, about 70 miles from Sault Ste. Marie. The vein in which it is found is about 2 inches in width, but on account of its position on the face of an almost perpendicular cliff, only a few specimens were obtained, and those with great difficulty." The Mr. Standard referred to was probably Benjamin Standard, who was captain of the John Jacob Astor, a schooner built for the American Fur Company. A few years prior to the publication of LeConte's paper, Captain Standard had commanded the schooner in the company's commercial fishing operations on Lake Superior. LeConte considered that Standard's mineral was very closely related to pitchblende, but because of the slight physical and chemical differences between it and the typical Bohemian pitchblende, he classed it as a new mineral, which he called quartzite. He probably derived that name from the Greek word for raven, in allusion to the black color of the mineral. 2 other papers concerned with LeConte's quartzite appeared in the American Journal of Science, one in 1849, a chemical analysis by J.D. Whitney, noting some differences from typical pitchblende. The second, in 1857, by Dr. F.A. Genth, included the following. Dr. John L. LeConte kindly presented me with a specimen of the mineral from about 90 miles above Sault Ste. Marie on the north side of Lake Superior, which he had described as quartzite. Its great resemblance to pitchblende favored the opinion that it was really nothing else, though it is interesting that it is so readily soluble in chlorhydric acid. This fact alone is not sufficient to separate it from pitchblende. Dr. Genth's reference to 90 miles above Sault Ste. Marie was unfortunate because it was the beginning of much confusion over the location of the original discovery. A report of the Geological Survey of Canada in 1863 compounded the confusion by stating under the heading uranium that an ore of this rare metal is said to occur at Mimance, where it forms a vein about 2 inches in width. It was first described in 1847 by Dr. J. L. LeConte as a new ore of uranium under the name quartzite. Later reports of the Geological Survey gave the same locality for the occurrence, but spelled the name Mimance, Maminse. It appears likely that the use of this name in the reports of the Geological Survey followed an old custom of referring to the entire region as Mimance, whereas later investigators assumed that it meant Mimance Point, which is only about 49 miles north of Sault Ste. Marie. Over the years, prospectors and geologists tried to relocate Standard's vein, including several attempts made by the Ontario Department of Mines and the Geological Survey of Canada until 1948. However, all efforts were unsuccessful, mainly because of the conflicting locations given in the various reports. The eventual discovery by Robert Campbell of uranium in pitchblende at Theano Point, Lake Superior in 1948 was probably a rediscovery of the first reported Canadian uranium occurrence, and makes it seem very likely that the original estimate of 70 miles from Sault Ste. Marie mentioned by LeConte was correct, or very nearly so. Robert Campbell, the discoverer of Theano Point deposit, which became Camry Mines Limited, told A. H. Lang of the Geological Survey of Canada that during the winter of 1947-48, he studied in Toronto libraries all the references to the old core site occurrence. He formed the Camry Prospecting Syndicate with a capital of $4,000, subscribed by Toronto backers, and equipping himself with a Geiger counter, spent the season of 1948 prospecting by boat and on foot along the shore of Lake Superior in the general region of the old discovery. On September 8th, 1948, he was caught in a storm on the lake and forced to take shelter in a small cove on the west side of Theano Point, located about 70 miles north of Sault Ste. Marie. He proceeded to check the rocks in the cove with his Geiger counter, and near the water's edge, in the granite face forming the south wall of the cove, he found short veins of a highly radioactive black mineral, which ultimately proved to be pitchblende, the chief ore mineral of uranium. Mr. Campbell proceeded to stake out his find, and his 30 claims recorded on October 16, 1948, were transferred ultimately to Camry Mines Limited. In 1949, a shaft was sunk on the deposit and some underground work was carried out. Though the Camry find was not a commercial success and operations at the property were soon suspended, many geologists believe that considerations of location, geological setting, and mineralogy point to the Camry showing as the one found by Standard over a century earlier, or if it is not identical, it is must at least be close to it. Subsequent events were to prove the Camry find of much greater significance than the immediate results suggested. The interest excited by the discovery caused a rush of prospectors and geologists not only to the Theano Point area, but into the whole general region. While in the Camry neighborhood in 1949, Frank R. Jubin, a consulting geologist, met prospectors Carl Guterman and Aimé Breton, who a short time before had found deposits of radioactive conglomerate near Lozon Lake in Long Township, north of Lake Huron's North Channel, and some 10 miles east of the lumbering town of Blind River. Jubin investigated the area and eventually persuaded Joseph H. Hirschhorn, a mining entrepreneur, to finance the drilling operation, which in 1953 discovered the ore body that became the Pronto Uranium Mine. A geological map by W. H. Collins of the Geological Survey of Canada helped to locate other extensive uranium deposits near Quirk and Elliott Lake. Thus, the Great Elliott Lake Uranium Mining Camp was born. It is enough to say here that within less than 5 years from the day of the first drilling, a dozen mines, including Pronto, were working feverishly. The names of some of these mining companies, such as Real Agome Mines and Denison Mines, have become almost household words, even to many unfamiliar with the mining world. The historical connection, which extends from the original LeConte Standard discovery through the Camry find to the establishment of one of the world's great uranium fields in the Elliott Lake region, is clear and strong and emphasizes the importance of Canada's first uranium discovery. So there is the press release that was put out for the unveiling of this plaque, and it is actually a pretty long press release and really goes into the historical importance of this discovery and why this plaque would be unveiled at that point. So if you are out and about, maybe not now, but perhaps in the spring or summer, and you're going up Highway 17, you can stop at the Alona Bay Scenic Outlook and look out and see Theano Point and read the historical plaque. If you do take a picture with the plaque, you can always tag the Sault Ste. Marie Museum at Sioux Museum on all socials, and we would be happy to know that our listeners are out there and out and about. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you're liking this series. I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas, and we are going into the new year 2025. So next week we will be another year on, and I will be bringing you another episode in our series Reading History. So thanks for listening. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, you might like our blog too. Head over to our website, Sioux Museum, that's SAULT museum.ca, and look under Discover. You will find our blog, Museum Musings. We share short synopsis of influential people, historic places, and impactful events in our history. Pictures are always included, and you will be sure to learn a little something new with each post.
Hi, I'm J.L. Fizzell, and I write and publish poetry inspired by nature and the art of being human. These are some of my words. It's hard not to love fall in the Algoma district. It is beautiful here. And fall always gives you that opportunity to appreciate the beauty and take it all in and just be present in that moment. So this poem is from the autumn chapter of my fourth book, Human Nature, and it's called The Honesty of Cool Winds. There is nothing more honest than a fall breeze, and while I think it's why so many fall in love with the season, her breath whispers nothing but the truth. There is no need to guess her intentions. She'll make you appreciate every day as if it were her last, for when it comes to autumn, it very well may be. I hope this poem took you somewhere inside yourself that you needed to go. You can listen to my story here on the Stories of Northern Life podcast. Links are in the show notes.